Welcome, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's webinar, the Sales Leadership Client Engagement. This is the second part of a three-part series from Renewed. This webinar is brought to you by Renewed, the open network for specialized subscription, membership, and event professionals. My name is Joseph Coleman. I am the Executive Director of Renewed. I'll be your host today. Welcome, John. Welcome, Dan. Welcome, Angela. If you have any questions for today's speakers, you can submit them to the presentation at the end of the presentation to the Q&A chat. You can email me, joseph@renewed.net. I will be following that email throughout the show. After the presentation, you can find the recording at renewed.net/resources. All the handouts and recording will be posted probably later today, probably first thing tomorrow morning. But we encourage you to invite your colleagues and contacts who would benefit from Renewed's free online community. You can always share these takeaways from this event using social media using #Renewed. Now on today's session, I'd like to introduce John Hitchcock. He's the Vice President and Managing Director of Energy Intelligence. John is a media executive with experience in editorial, sales, marketing, general management, encompassing digital and print and spanning newspapers, newswires, newsletters, and magazines across 5 continents. Woo! John, that's quite the bio. Welcome, John. Welcome, speakers, and enjoy the show.
Yes, a good bio also needs a good editor. We'll have to work on that, Joseph. Thank you very much. And Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome back to those who were full-fledged members of the 3-part series that we're embarking on, Sales Leadership, as we kick off 2024. You'll remember back in the middle of December, those of you who joined us with David Foster, we dealt with the sometimes messy, difficult subject of knowing your client. Well, after you know your client, what do you do? Well, it's time to engage. And that's what the second session today is all about, engagement. We've got a pair on the panel today that are intended to represent different ends of our spectrum of Renewed audiences. Angela Kornegor. Angela is the CEO of MedLearn Media, and she's been part of that publisher in Minneapolis for a good number of years, and her expertise includes a variety of things that are going to be very, very crucial to her talk today, leveraging her diverse expertise in encompassing strategic execution, operational leadership, product development, marketing, business development. Angela's done a lot within a small company. In a larger setting, Dan Fink, Managing Director of Money Media, which is part of the Financial Times group. Dan oversees Money Media's business unit acquired by the Financial Times back in 2008. It has a staff of 150 people, so quite a bit bigger than the outfit that Angela represents. And Dan oversees dozens of products and operations on 3 continents from his offices in New York. And Money Media sits within FT Specialist, that part of the Financial Times group that focuses on specialized publishing, particularly in areas of premium news across a variety of industries. So again, Angela representing one corner of Renewed's faithful audience in the small to medium-sized publishing, and Dan kind of bridging over into the larger publishers. Different resources, different approaches, slightly different business models we'll hear today. And to get started, let's just kind of set the scene by asking, I guess, Dan, we'll start with you. If you could tell us about your organization's approach to selling and the structure of your sales function.
Sure. Thanks, John. And I'm happy to be here with everybody in the Renewed community. So to jump right in and answer your question, I'll say, Money Media has grown a lot over the years, and you cited some of that. So we have a relatively large sales team, and we use our sales team to sell corporate licenses rather than individual subscriptions. Most of our licenses are sold between $5,000 and $10,000 per year for company-wide access. Regardless, though, I still think the principles that we follow apply to most specialized publishers, large or small. So I think I think a lot of what I can share is still usable by everybody in some shape or form. All of our selling, even though we've got live sales reps, all of our selling is done by email and phone. So we're not flying people around the country to make high pressure, sales pitches in boardrooms by any means. These are inside sales reps using email and phone, to communicate with prospects. And you could have one person doing that, or you could have multiple people doing that. The only exception I would say to that is that we do send reps to conferences, to key industry events, especially when we've got an exhibit stand to help represent the brand. We also separate the new sales function from the renewals function, because those are two different decisions that people are making. In terms of our sales approach, I'll just keep it high level at this point to sort of set the table. But one of the fundamental principles that we follow, that I think is applicable broadly, is that people make business buying decisions in two parts. And this is different than necessarily consumer decisions, but business buying decisions are made in two parts. Part one is, do I want this? And that's short for, will this product help me do my job better or help my company be more successful? Do I want this? Part two is, are the terms of sale acceptable? And that's where buyers are considering the price and the subscription model, or the payment terms, et cetera, et cetera. It's really important to understand the way that the buying decisions for business purchases is broken down to those two parts. That's one of our fundamental sort of principles, that everything is structured around. And it's the engagement. We're here to talk about engagement. It's the engagement with your content, with your product, that delivers a yes to the first question. Do I want this? Without a yes, without people engaging with the content, and without the answer of yes to the do I want this question, you're just not going to be successful at scale. You can't scale up a subscription business selling predicated on terms, and the promise of value that people can't test. I understand that there are different types of products, and you can't just, you have to restrict access in some cases in various forms. But, if you understand the way these decisions are being made, people have to feel as though I want this. And when they feel that way, the price elasticity, what they're willing to pay becomes much, much more elastic. If they feel strongly that they want it, and if they feel that way because they've engaged with the content in some way. So I'll pause there, but that's sort of our basic approach and structure.
Good. Well, thank you, Dan. And Angela, how about you? How does your organization make it work? Well,
Yeah. So a little different. Dan nailed it. Different, smaller in size, but very similar concept. So our organization provides not only subscription products and services, but a variety of transactional products and services. So we're a specialty healthcare publisher. We provide news, education. A lot of our content includes continuing education units. So that's a value add that our clients do need within healthcare. We have 3 full-time sales team members. So that's who we have. They work on different territories throughout the U.S. We only sell U.S. Everything that we produce is government rules and regs for our government. They oversee our entire portfolio of educational services. How we break that down is, once a subscription sale occurs by one of those 3 sales team members, it does then fall into an auto renewal, which then gets put over with our client success team member the next year to maintain, nurture, stay on top of that client. So that's how we set apart, once a sale is made, where it goes. The 3 full-time sales team members with the transactional products, we call them our legacy items, and that's our entry point to our subscription products. So we try to set very simple goals that everything we produce and market in regards to demand-driven campaigns from content aligns to those goals for our sales team. So for our sales team members, there are 3 goals that they set each year is, 1, maintain the client spend from the prior year for that legacy item, because the more we can nurture, white glove approach those legacy customers, we can then upsell them, grow them, maintain them. So number 1, maintain those clients. So average spend last year, we want to maintain that. Our second goal we put forward is, how do we grow those clients with additional upsells, new products and services? That's the second goal. And then the third one is new logo goals. And the new logo goals, new customer, new business, traditionally falls under subscriptions, because as we produce our demand-driven campaigns, which are, Dan and I will talk a little bit more, and content tells us where to go. We have a variety of inbound funnels that go to our 3 sales team members to help them get 7-day trial follow-ups for subscription products for those new logo business. Somebody filled out a form on a different landing page. So various different inbound funnels. So everything we produce and we output, let it be email marketing, social marketing, content, webinars, you name it, drives towards those 3 goals. To move towards that, we have a marketing, product, and editorial team. And it sounds big. It's literally 1 person in marketing, 1 person in product, 1 person in editorial. So we're small, multiple hats. But we work together in a collaborative approach, which we'll talk a little bit more about in regards to how to support those efforts to help our sales team meet those 3 goals.
Good. All right. Well, so we've set the table a bit. Dan, you've very clearly mentioned the 2 goals that your team faces, the two ends of the selling business. But let's talk about getting your clients to yes, as you put it. What do you do? What's the process that you use to drive people to yes?
So I've got a slide that I can show in a minute that sort of illustrates the process, but let me just sort of emphasize a few key points first. It starts with the content. You've got to have content that people view as highly valuable or must have. And our process is to take that content and put it in front of highly targeted prospects. We're all in the business of specialized publishing or specialized, content. So the targeting is absolutely critical. But our basic, another one of our basic principles is that if you take really good content and you put it in front of the right people, they will click on it. They will pursue it. They will want to read it. They'll engage. So the targeting is critical. And then marketing and our marketing folks and our sales folks work together to maximize engagement during the trial period. We put these headlines in front of the right people. They click on them and sign up for a trial. And then during the trial period, we're trying to maximize engagement with the content. And again, we're trying to do that before we get to a buying discussion. Let's see here. So it's the job of sales to deliver personalized communications. So marketing's putting out content that is sort of the same for everybody, but our sales team, and you can do this through marketing, or whether you have 1 person on the sales team or multiple, or if you don't have a direct salesperson at all, you can do it through marketing. But we find a key part of getting the prospects to engage is personalized communications, paired with the more standardized communications. So I'll give you a couple of examples of what we use. Our sales reps will contact a prospect who signed up for a trial and say, "Hey, I see that you trialed last year. Also, it sounds like you're really interested in, I'm your rep here at this, company, and are there any questions I can answer for you?" Or they might say, I wanted you to know 3 of your colleagues at XYZ Corp are also trialing this product right now. Do you know anybody in the marketing department? Do you know anybody in the finance department? And they'll try and get the content, the conversation going that way, getting the prospect to engage, not just with the content, but engage with this in the sales process. But they're doing that with personalized communications. And we're pushing for engagement at both those levels. And we're trying to avoid talking about buying until we have a yes to question 1. So the person's expressed in some way, either through their behavior and the amount of content they've consumed, or verbally, to the sales rep, yeah, I'm interested in buying. How does this work? So, with that said, let me just share that slide. I think the slide will help illustrate the, sort of our sales process pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, are you guys able to see that?
Bingo. Yes, thank you.
All right, so I'll just spend a minute on this, but step 1 is content. You've got to have great content that people want and are willing to pay for. Step 2 for us is marketing. And this is what I said, putting great content in front of highly targeted people. We put that out on email, we put it out on social, and we're doing more on, on search now. The next phase is the trial. This is where people have sort of identified themselves as being an interested prospect. We have a list of people, as you all do, that we're targeting, but when they sign up for a trial, that's when they sort of identify themselves as an interested prospect. We're trying to maximize the engagement that they have during that period. That period is typically somewhere between 2 weeks and a month. So that's this phase here where I talked about engagement, and then really at the end of that is when we're trying to sell. After we've got a yes to question one, after we've got sufficient engagement, that's when we're focusing on selling, and we're really focusing those efforts on people who've engaged the most and have shown a real propensity to buy. And that makes the whole process efficient.
Great. Well, thanks, Dan. Angela, how different is your process to yes?
Yeah, so our sales process revolves around understanding and addressing the needs, similar to Dan, of our prospects and customers. And we do that through the collaborative approach with product, the editorial team. They drive everything. I actually saw my product manager on here, so I'm glad she's on here listening. But they drive what is going on in the market. They read the legislative rules. They stay on top of our subject matter experts. I mean, they're living and eating, breathing. So it starts with them. So what we do annually is it's a deep dive, but it's called product rationalization. And it's something that we've done for years, and it's around our budget time. So every year we do it together. It's driven by the product editorial team. We bring in a marketing team member and a few ops folks, and we look at each one of our product lines, legacy and subscription, because again, we tie it back to the 3 goals that we have. And we align a grow, maintain, or sunset status to each of the products. We look at things like profit margins, market share, market opportunities, competition, which the product and editorial team is doing year-long research on, brings it to that group. And from that product rationalization deep dive, we actually develop a content calendar, which is our demand-driven campaigns, which then lead to our sales funnel. So how do we support our sales team? So I'm going to show my screen and just show a snip of our content calendar. It's massive. So this is literally just a quick little PDF of it. Are you guys able to see that?
You're not going to take us through every one of those cells, are you?
I absolutely will not. You guys do not have to live in our madness here. But it's a massive spreadsheet against small organizations. So we utilize things that are, our tools are Excel, very heavy Excel users here. But we set up campaigns based upon that grow, maintain, sunset status. And then we develop demand-driven, kind of not contrived demand, but true demand-driven campaigns that will reflect what is relevant in the market, what's trending, what's hot, and how we can help support it in order to get our customers engaged with a piece of content that in turn they will do something, either fill out a form, do a 7-day trial, purchase. That in turn, if it's a purchase, right, that's great. Our team doesn't really follow up with them, but if it's one of the other aspects of it where they engage, our sales team does follow up. The content calendar is multi-channel. So there's literally 30 different line items on here. We talk about how we're going to promote our products and services on our podcast, our social, SEO, all of our different aspects of it, emails. And I'm going to show 2 of the contents or 2 of the campaigns and execution that we actually produce. So the next 2 slides, one that kind of backwards, one big thing we do is industry events. So in healthcare, there are a ton of industry events. We've got Health Information Week, Lab Week, those type of things. So what we make sure to do is how do we support it? How do we be part of it? So those are significant campaigns that help us drive our products and services to our clients. It gives our sales team good content to go talk to their current clients, because again, there are 3 goals. They want to maintain their current business, which is our legacy clients. So they need to know what's going on. It's very technical information, just like all of us what Dan was referring to. So we try to make sure our product manager does an excellent job disseminating that clinical information into really bite-sized nuggets for our sales team, so that when they're equipped, when they go talk to clients about these industry events, they can talk about what's trending, what's relevant, and how it impacts that customer. So we develop these campaigns around these industry events that support it, celebrate it, and then bring in leads. So 2 of them I'm going to show, and these are just ads, just to give you guys a visual, if you think of all the different multiple channels that we promote this on. But one here is Lab Week. So Lab Week is a week-long campaign that's traditional or industry event, traditionally in April. That is for all laboratory coding or laboratory professionals. And an element of their role is that they've got to deal with this, coding guideline in healthcare, which is very cumbersome. So we touch every platform we have that gets in front of these clients and talks about our products and services. And this just shows an example of a lead gen form that we use. So it's on an ad, we have email marketing, we have it in social, we do commercial reads on our podcast about it. But what we did here is we offered the first 50 applicants that filled out this form to get this free ebook, that they would get it. And then that in turn is a lead funnel for our sales team to follow up on. So the interesting thing is, when we put out these campaigns, we do a lot of them. I mean, 6 to 8 of these industry events a year, plus a variety of other campaigns, is you have to act fast, right? We know customers have about an 8-second memory span of when they fill a form out. So that's kind of our biggest challenge, is how do you get a hold of those clients as soon as possible in order to catch them while it's fresh, and to have that dialogue and discussion. Because again, our goal is we're supporting the 3 targets. So is by a client filling out one of these forms, will it help our sales team, maintain their current business? Will help them maintain and upsell? Is this a new product that somebody maybe doesn't have that we're able to give them some content on? Or will help them maybe get a new logo goal, a new subscription product? So this is one of the campaigns that we did. And then I've got another one here too. It's a little small, but we do celebrate Heart Health Month, which is coming up in February. So we take the whole month and celebrate everything that the industry is doing for heart health. So those are 2 big demand campaigns that we produce throughout the year to support our sales process and our team, to make sure that they've got fodder, good feedback and information to talk to clients, but also leads to follow up on. And then similar to Dan from there, it's, once they talk to the clients, they, it could be of no interest where they were just window shopping. That absolutely happens, right? So it's how do you walk away? That's a big thing we talk about, is you can't follow everybody, right? So spend your time on where it's worth it. So walk away from those clients, or put them into their funnel. Are they able to sell something right now? Or are they able to put it into their pipeline to nurture for larger opportunities?
Well, I celebrate the health of my heart, not just in February, but every month of the year. But I can see the point of making it February a special month along the lines of a special promotion that fits with an industry event a lot. A quick side question, Angela. You said you sunset products every year.
Mm-hmm.
What percentage of your products would you say are sunset? How much churn is there as you kind of work through the engagement and figure out what's just not working?
There are some years that we don't sunset any products. Last year, we sunsetted 2 newsletters. So we'll hold, our team does not like to let things go, right? Because we develop it, we think it's great. So, our biggest factor is profit margins. Once we hit a 50% profit margin, that's where it really starts to, so we've got 2 product lines right now that we have been on our monitor list, or they've been a maintain to sunset, where we try new things because maybe our subject matter experts, there's a reason that we're holding on to it. Like, there's not a lot of competition. There's the pandemic, right? There was a lot of, in healthcare, there were a lot of stalls at that time and point. So I would say there could be some years none, some years 10%.
Yeah. Well, because it does help with focus. So you don't want to have people focusing on things that are dogs. That's the time sucker. Dan, let's go a bit further into the weeds, and we've set the process up. We understand that. How does, now that you've got the process underway, how does the engagement with your content play into that into that sales routine? For instance, how much do you open up the paywall for prospects to access your content when they're at the point of making a buying decision?
Yeah, excellent question. So let me answer that by showing a few examples of what our prospects actually see when they start this journey, and that sort of indicates how we're engaging with them, and how they're what they're seeing and what they're engaging with. And then I'll just, after this, a few of those examples, I'll just make a few points. So let me share my screen again. And what you're going to see here is, this is a marketing email that we use. All these examples are based around one of our products called Health Payer Specialist. This product targets the health insurance industry, and it's targeted at people who work at health insurance companies. But inside the industry, they're referred to as payers, health payers, because they pay the bill in the end. So if you look at this email campaign, I'll point out that there's very little marketing content on here. There's very little marketing text. There's really one line here at the top that says, click any of today's headlines to sign up for a free trial. Other than that, the large majority of content on this is our actual content. These are news headlines that were written by our journalists. And then at the bottom, you've got a sign up button and one line of about text before you get into the fine print of opt-outs and so forth. So really with this is an example of how we put the content front and center. We're really just putting these headlines in front of the right people. And we want them to look at the headlines and look at the content. And if they see something, click on it, to engage. Now, if a prospect clicks on this, we want them to sign up for a trial. That's our goal, is to get them to sign up for a trial. This next slide here, here we go. This is what a prospect sees if they click on a headline. Now, the page loads up and they can see that they need a username and password down here. And then very quickly, the page is grayed out and there's this sort of pop-up box. And it essentially just says, very simply, enjoy a full access free trial for 30 days. And all you have to do is click the box to accept the terms and conditions and then click the button to start reading. So it's only 2 clicks. Why are we not asking for their name and their email and their company, etc.? The reason is because we emailed them to begin with. We know their name, we know their email, we know their company, we retargeted them. So in a case where we've emailed them, we don't ask them to fill out a form. We already have all that information. So we just carry it through and they click on the headline and we keep, we make this process very low friction. 2 clicks is all I have to do to start reading and start my trial. And that gets them to engage with the content, with the headline that they clicked very quickly. I'll show you 2 more quick examples. If we are targeting, we target prospects on social media also, but we don't, we haven't targeted them, by, as individuals. We target them through the tools on social media, so we don't know their identity yet. So when they click our content and come to our websites, they're going to see a different experience. They're going to see this, which says, unlock this article with your email address. And I don't know if you can see it, but in the box it says business email address. We're looking for their business email address. And so they're not getting a trial here. They're just unlocking the article by identifying themselves. Once they identify themselves to us as an interested prospect, we can market to them. We can give them, a streamlined sign-up process. But this is a way to essentially get them to identify themselves and join our email list. And in exchange, we're giving them, unlocking a single article for them. The last one I'll show you just very quickly is, this is not the only time we might use a sign-up page, but if somebody responds to a paid search sort of promotion, they might see a page like this where we give a bit of information on the left about who we are, and there is a more traditional sign-up form on the right. So those are some just visual examples of what our prospects will see and experience in the process with us. But I want to make a few key points that relate to those. We sell hard news. So the shelf life of each article is relatively short. This thing has happened and we're telling you about it. And the main value is the ongoing stream of news, is access to our news stream. So as a result, we're able to fully open up the paywall for trialists and give trialists the same experience they would have as a paid subscriber during their trial period. Again, the period is usually limited to 2 weeks to a month. Now, if you have a different type of product or a different value proposition, that's okay. But it's important that you think through, you understand what your value is, and that you're able to give people enough content, enough engagement with your content that they can get to a yes to answer one, that they can see it and feel it and experience it enough to say, I want this, and to feel some conviction around that. So maybe you can't open up everything the way we do, but if you've got to find that balance of how much can I open up. And I would encourage people to be a little more aggressive. If you hold too much back, you don't get a yes to answer one, to part one, and then you end up trying to sell on the terms where people kind of want it a little bit, but now they're very price sensitive or very specific around terms, and you're not at the same position of strength when you're selling. Okay, so we also, to drive engagement during that trial period, we push out a lot of news to them. We have newly published content that we push out to trialists almost every day. Email is a critical tool for us in this process. We're not expecting people, oh, you signed up to trial, you're going to come to our site and find what you want. We are not expecting that. Some people may do it, but we're expecting that you're going to sit and work hard at your job. And if we don't get in front of you, you're not going to pay any attention to us, even though you signed up for a trial. So we're pushing out email with newly published content almost every day, or in fact every day, depending on the product. We've also optimized the design of our emails on our website to maximize engagement. We've conducted A/B tests on key design elements, you know, to make sure that we're really trying to get people to the website. I'll give you one example here. The iconic sort of blue color for hyperlink text. I mean, that works. That's extremely powerful. People have been trained over the 20 plus years of the existence of the internet that iconic blue color for a hyperlink, you click on it, you know, and it takes you someplace good. So although we did not want to use that color for our headlines, in all of our A/B tests, we saw that drove the most engagement. So we stuck with it ultimately, and we tailored our design around using that blue color in the text for the headlines. So we've optimized the design of our emails on our website around maximizing engagement. We also have a recommendation engine that emails content to prospects that meet two criteria. Number one, it's content they haven't read yet, and it's related to their prior reading. Now I say recommendation engine, really, this is pretty simple technology. You know, it does require some custom built technology, but it's not super complex. And it's the kind of thing that it has a very high ROI. So it's worth an investment. In fact, it delivers so much. We're working to make our recommendation engine more sophisticated this year. We're going to invest in that. What else did I want to point out here? So, you know, our editors that are producing content, the main metric they're assessed on is engagement. You know, they're getting a continuous feedback loop, and the feedback that they're getting is based on subscribers, but you know that still applies to trialists, even though it's not based around trialists. You know, trialists are sort of lookalikes for our existing subscriber base, so it applies to them. And you know, when we talk about engagement and how we assess our editors, we're not only looking at clicks. We're looking at other very important metrics, really critical metrics, specifically how much time does a person spend on the page when they're there? And we look at other engagement metrics. Do they share it? Do they save it? You know, we have a function on our websites where you can save an article for future use, etc. So looking at engagement metrics and how much time they spend reading the article. I think that's a key principle, again, that I'll point out. If you're only looking at clicks, remember, everyone who clicks on a headline hasn't read the content yet. So if you're looking only at clicks, you're only looking at a metric for people who haven't read the content. So you've really got to look at time on page. You've got to look at engagement, you know, with the actual content once they get there. As well, I'll just give you two more quick examples. Our sales team is alerted every time one of their trialists engages and reads content on the website, so that they can follow up the same day. You know, there's the old saying, timing is everything. So you know, if a prospect, you know, engages with 3 articles on Tuesday, and then the sales rep calls them on Tuesday afternoon, you know, they don't have to say anything specific about their engagement. It's just a very well-timed phone call. If they wait till Friday, you know, we may have missed the window. So, you know, again, the engagement is critical, and we're trying to time our sales work with that engagement. You know, sales reps will also, my last example, will also send individual articles, handpicked articles to prospects based on their conversations with them. So that's another way to get them to engage, especially if they've been a little resistant to engaging with sort of a very personalized approach. I know I covered a lot there, but I'll stop there.
Yeah, but and that's a great place to finish, because you've brought it back down to that personalized communication, which you mentioned at the outset as being so critical to getting the yes. A lot of very good practices, but ultimately making it clear to the individuals buying that you're in touch with them in a way that's not generic, that it fits his or her own needs. Angela, how about you? Go down those rabbit holes of engagement. What do you guys do?
Yeah, so a little different approach because we have a different business model, but I'm going to tie it back to our content calendar. So this is a little bit more from an internal side versus what the customer is seeing in the back end. So we are big advocates of our GA4 stats. We are just scratching the surface. So, you know, we don't know there's a lot more we could do, but that is where we identify from a starting point, our content that is in front of the paywall and behind the paywall, what is doing well. And we plan our roadmap, we execute our roadmap that we develop with our deep dive each year from our product rationalization. And then as we look at our GA4 stats and analytics, which I'll show you guys a couple slides here for that, we then adjust because maybe we produce something that we thought would do well. And to John's point, it was a dog, right? So we'll pivot quick and fast because we do have 3 different brands underneath our umbrella. So if we see a product line or a service doing well, we'll pivot quick to follow that one and strike while it's hot, because it might be, something just that at that time we can capitalize on. So we monitor our analytics internally that way. And our biggest goal with doing that there is we do this on a weekly basis. We actually have a product scrum meeting that the same team members that were involved in that product rationalization meeting weekly, we're looking at our analytics. We're talking about what's going on. And it's just a real good open discussion, publisher, editorial, marketing, you name it. And then as we look at the data, we ensure that we are very transparent and share that with our sales team. Again, our sales team has 3 goals that they're focusing on throughout the year as they're looking at to maintain their current legacy customers, upselling to those clients, growing that business, because it's easier to do that than to go get new customers, and then the new logo customers. So we send Loom videos, we share our GA4 stats, we'll help them, this article is doing well, we'll use ChatGPT to write scripts for them, voicemail scripts, email scripts, actual like live script. So that's kind of our process there. What I'm going to show you guys is how do we look at that data. So this is some of our GA4 stats. So I'm just going to pull this up. All right. So this is just a snippet here. And again, we have 3 brands. So what we look at first, or we look at our top pages. So we'll spend time every week going through all 3 of our brands. And what we look at, similar to what Dan's talking about, is you don't want to just look at views, right? You don't want to look at just everybody that's looking at it, but our KPIs that we want to look at, we'll tackle one brand. We'll go, do we want to look at the last 30 days, 90 days, 2 weeks, whatever our aspect is that we're looking for. But we look at, top views, how many users, views per user, and then definitely time on page. That gives us a good indicator if we see a couple of those high, that those are relevant topics that we in turn, what more on our content calendar do we have that are going to be talking about promoting that product, that content, if it's an article, if it's a book, whatever it is that we're promoting there. And then we look at conversions. Again, we're heavily looking at everything we output, demand-driven campaigns. So if it's a contest, if it's an industry event, if it's an email marketing campaign, if it's just an insight or a blog post, what is it driving at that in turn can help us hit our 3 targets, for our sales team? How do we help support them? Thinking of the client engagement there. So we look at conversions. If something has high views, good time on page, and is converting well, that's a winner for us. So then we look to what more can we explore? Maybe we want to develop a webcast. Maybe we want to develop a series of topics. Hey, we already did a webcast. Let's go back to that webcast. Let's look to see if we can pull some content out of there to write some articles to then promote that on-demand webcast or that subscription, whatever it ties to get more engagement and generate more leads, either for our sales team or more sales on our e-commerce store. So big fans of GA4. So we go through pages, and then we also look at our e-commerce. So we developed, and we have a web dev contractor that helped us set these up with GA4. So we've got e-commerce pages that we look at as well, same time frame. So what products are doing well? We look at abandoned cart. If the abandoned cart, we look at conversions. We want to try to be anywhere between 8 to 18, 20% from abandoned cart, and then converting on there. That's another piece that we work with our sales team on. So we want to share, and we haven't quite perfected that yet, but we want to make sure that they see what clients are putting things in their cart and who hasn't purchased yet, because that again gives them another opportunity to go and talk to a client, let them know, find out, hey, saw you were looking at this, want to see if there's anything they can help you with. Provide them different fodder for their toolbox so that when they talk to those clients, what's hot, what's relevant, what things do we have going on that could help push that sale over the tipping point. So that's how we look at engagement internally of what customers are doing, either on our store, on our web pages, that in turn we can produce new product services or get our sales team content. The second thing we do for behind the paywall is that we've developed a GA4 page for our behind the paywall content is only our premium subscription product. So that's it. So, we have news, but it's all in front of the paywall. So the only freemium model we have to our paywall is a 7-day trial. So our sales team will either offer a 7-day trial, we'll offer 7-day trials on our email marketing campaigns or whatever efforts we're promoting for our subscription products, or our sales team will do demos. That actually does really well when they show demos of customers of how they can use it. We started doing videos too of kind of showing customers the value, log in here, how do you use it? But on the back end, we've got a GA4 page for each of our subscription products where we can go in and look at how many people opened it, viewed it, how much time they're on spent on the page. So it's really a rinse, lather, repeat process where we, execute on our content calendar, go look at our analytics, adjust and pivot based upon what's doing well, what's not doing well, and then how do we capitalize on that and give our sales team the information they need in order to continue to sell to those current clients, add on to them, upsell, referrals, you name it, and then get the new logo business.
Great. Well, and what I'm hearing from both of you is maybe an easy lesson, but not one that you want to ignore, which is to focusing on time on page versus clicks. I mean, that does a couple of things in my mind that are pretty important. One, if you're looking at only at clicks, you're subject to all sorts of weird cybersecurity false traffic. People are coming, machines are coming in and clicking on stuff. It's not necessarily your own your subscribers or your trialists who are looking at that stuff. And the second aspect is, after all, you want people who've been on your pages for enough time to make real use of your product, as opposed to just using it for a quick current awareness. Because it's that, if you're deep into a piece, you're getting satisfaction. You've spent time, and you're likely to spend the money to back up that time. So good stuff. We're at a point now where I'd like to throw this open to questions from the audience. There's some good stuff in the chat, which Joseph, you may be able to ferret out better than I can, but there's one great question from Ben about AI, and I can't resist an AI question in this day and age, especially around engagement. We're talking about letting people see things in the open. Is that does opening it up then run the risk of having AI do a number on you? In other words, people use AI for machine learning and spoiling the advantages of your content in ways that you really hadn't intended. Dan, is that a concern in your engagement practices?
Yes and no. Look, I think in principle, there's absolutely a concern that AI is going to consume your content and become an alternate provider. And I think publishers for way too long have not protected their valuable content enough and have given way too much of it away. But specifically to us, the vast majority of our content is behind a paywall, and I've even some paywalls can be penetrated by bots, but I've verified to a very high level of certainty that our paywall cannot be penetrated without by a bot, but by AI. So it's not a specific concern for us because so much of it is behind the paywall. Now that does hurt us on SEO. We don't have as large a body of content out there for search engines to consume and to send prospects our way. So it's a trade-off. But if you give your content away for free, why would people pay for it? Number one. Number two, if you fuel an alternate provider of your own content, that doesn't help. So it's a trade-off. But we keep our content behind a paywall, and I think the publishing community at large should really consider or reconsider how much content they put outside the paywall.
Good. Angela.
Yeah, similar to Dan. I mean, so what we put outside the paywall is our free content and news. So we're okay with it. We've got podcasts, articles, insights, our premium content, which are our legacy items. You can either subscribe to them or buy them one-off. There's, AI is not going to get them. Our biggest aspect, though, of what we focus on when it comes to AI is that how do we differentiate the use of the content? So, all right, as a publisher, you can never control how an end user interprets and utilizes that content. We're very technical in healthcare in regards to how to code something specifically. So we try to make sure that with any of our paid products, we really walk a client through how to take that rule, that regulation, and have some practical tips of how to, like, the who, what, where, why, and when, and then how to use it. That is something that, as of right now, we use AI for a lot of our content, for marketing, for promotions, for sales scripts. And even, I've taken some pieces of paid content, just pieces, not all of it, just to plug it in there and kind of get a feel for what it produces, just for my own sanity check. And it it's very superficial so far, which is good, right? But we have to continue to stay on top of that, because if it does become smarter where it starts to take that away from us, what do we need to do to differentiate our content? What do we, how do we readjust our data, put it into different formats? I think that's where our opportunity is going to be with AI, is that we're all, as publishers, going to have, I think, new ways to share and output our own content with different either platforms that we can, private label, or ways that we produce and develop things. I think we're going to have some opportunity, which will be pretty exciting. So it's just being mindful, but also knowing, what is your value that you can't just get by, putting in a question on ChatGPT and getting the answer.
Good. Joseph, what do you see in the chat that you might want to bring out before I hog too much of the stage with my own questions?
Just some technical stuff while you guys think of some questions. We still have 10 minutes, so post your questions in the chat, send me an email. Even if you think of something later today, you can email me, joseph@renew.net, and I will get it over to the speakers, no problem. I have attached the handouts for everyone. You can download those as well, and the recording will be up later today. So get your questions in now while we still have time, and we'll go ahead.
Okay, good.
And,
well,
John, I'll chime in if that's okay. There are a couple of technical.
Absolutely.
In my own selfish self-interest. Mine was one of the technical questions, but they're related. I think both came up when Dan was talking about sort of the technology behind some of this. The first one was about, is your recommendation engine automated, or are people driving that? And then my question was similar: is the notification process to your sales team about people engaging with the content automated?
Yeah, so look, there's more than one way to do this. There are sort of more automated, higher tech ways to do it, and there are manual ways to do it, but and options in the middle. But for us, we have an automated piece of technology that creates a task for a sales rep in Salesforce.com, which is our CRM, and each time one of their trialists reads content. So basically, it'll say, if I'm the sales rep and you're the prospect, it'll create a task for me, and it'll say, Dan, Stephanie read a piece of content in the last 4 hours on this website, and it creates a task for me to follow up with you. So that's an automated function. Now, in our previous iteration, we had a report that went out every sort of in the morning and then in the afternoon, saying, here are all the trialists that engaged on the site in the last 4 or 5 hour period, and sales reps could just look at the report and pick out, oh, that person's my trialist, that person's my trialist, and contact them. So there's more manual ways to do it, but we've found so much value in it. We made it a very automated sort of push method. And then the recommendation you asked about, again, this one is a custom piece of technology that we built, but it's very simple. There's 2 criteria for each trialist. In a defined period, let's say of a 3-day period or a 5-day period. For each trialist, it's sending them, I think, 3 headlines, and the criteria are that the person has not viewed these stories before, and that they are related to the story they read. And we're determining that they're related because when the editors create stories in our CMS, they put some topic tags on them, so it shares a topic tag. So maybe the topic tag is regulation. So here's a story that is regulation and has not been read by this person, and we send it to them. And the email just simply says, since you read A, you might be interested in ... And then it lists the 3 stories below it, and we get really good engagement on that. That works very well for us.
So Dan, this engagement sounds very good. I mean, and the results must be terrific as the engagement increases. Has your staff ever voiced the concern, or have your prospects ever voiced the concern that Big Brother or Big Sister is watching me? I'm getting so much stuff that's so close to what I've just read. I'm a little bit afraid that these guys are on top of me in ways that I'm not comfortable. Is that an issue that you guys have come across?
Look, just as you brought it up, we've thought about it, but we've never experienced a complaint about that. We've never had a prospect say, stop sending me such relevant content related to what I already read. You know, you're watching me too close. No one's ever said that. And for the most part, you know, and look, we're being very transparent. We're saying, since you read A, you may be interested in B, C, or D. And, you know, so it's sort of very clear that we're just saying, like, here's just some more articles that are related to the one you read. And yeah, we've, you know, maybe one day we'll have a complaint on that, but we've not to this point, and it's been a number of years.
Good. That's good to hear.
Stephanie
Angela-
has another question. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, Joseph, please go ahead.
Stephanie asks, have either of you had success generating sales leads from social media?
Angela, do you want to start on this one? Or...
Yeah, I can start. Not a ton. I mean, we always use social media as a channel with every one of our demand-driven campaigns, always. But we do not generate a lot of sales from them. That's our lowest performing channel within all of our demand-driven. We actually, our blogs, we have a weekly compliance question of the week, which is a free blog. We get more sales off of that, which is putting ads within each one of the compliance questions that are relevant to it, where we can directly attribute it back, than we do social media. But we continue to use it because our reach continues to grow. So we don't have a direct attribution, but we know it's you know, brand recognition, just getting in front of an audience that is there and networking. That's what we use it for.
Dan, how about you?
Yeah, I think Angela hit one of the key points in the head, is that, you know, we use it for brand recognition. We use it for two main things. One is brand recognition, which Angela just cited. And I think it's critical and key to do that. Part of the reason brand recognition is so important in today's world is that people have become increasingly hesitant to click on a link in an email because it could be phishing or a cybersecurity risk. If they've never heard of your brand, if they've never seen your brand, if this is the first time they've ever encountered it on email, even if it looks interesting, the level of hesitancy to click on something that could be a cybersecurity risk, it rises from week to week. So, you know, having, you know, visibility outside of email has become more and more important. So we use it for brand recognition, number one. And then number two, we've used it primarily to identify prospects or to help let prospects identify themselves. I showed that slide before where if you come from social media, we're saying unlock this email with your business email address. Unlock this article with your business email address. Once they have opted in to us via email, we're then trying to make sales, you know, or continue the sales process via the email channel. You know, but we find social media to be very effective for identifying prospects and for building that brand recognition.
You know, not all prospects are created equal. I mean, some of them are very, very rabid consumers right from the start. Others are kind of inactive, which doesn't necessarily mean that they won't be buyers, but perhaps they haven't quite got the message yet. So what do you guys do to, what do your sales reps do to try to get inactive leads to become more engaged in your content? Do you just give up, or is there a process to try to stimulate the inactive into action? Angela, any thoughts?
Yeah, sure. So our reps use a first one is free offer. It's a verbal, you know, offer that they use. They're not huge fans of discounts or offering things for free, but this has worked really well since the pandemic because we had a lot of turnover. So we would have a facility and a contact name that was, you know, still there, but the buyer wasn't there. So for the last year and a half, we've really worked on the first one's free. You know, if the prior client is no longer there, right? That new person, to Dan's point of brand recognition, not knowing, they may not have any clue who we are, right? Based upon their experience, how long they've been in the industry. So we've coached our team and they're very receptive to it now of offering that product complimentary to the client. So, and you can do it in an affordable way, like an ebook version and on-demand format, but that has really worked with inactive prospects. And we're looking at that more from a facility that has been a buyer, but that contact is gone. They do offer that in their emails as well when they're talking to clients, but that's been our biggest tool that's helped.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Dan, how about you?
Yeah, look, I think there's two key pieces to this answer also. Number one is people who are not organically engaging with your content, who you're pushing it in front of them, they're looking at it and they're not clicking, they're not reading. These people are probably not worth banging your head against the wall, trying to get them to engage. So for the most part, we're trying to focus our time. we're using that engagement as a filter to some degree. We're filtering out the people who are not just not good candidates, and we're focusing on the people who are engaging more, who are good candidates. That said, there are times when you need, you want to maximize, your sales, and there are times when you need a person to buy in order to get a sale. Especially in our model, we sell corporate licenses, so it's very common that we need a key decision maker to agree to a budget expenditure for a corporate license. So there are two things we use, and I say these words, they may sound bad, but I mean them in the best possible way. Peer pressure and FOMO. Again, I mean them in the best possible way, but those are sort of the two most effective methods to get somebody who's been resistant to engaging to start engaging. And I'll give you two, I'll just make it a little more tangible, those examples. We have emails, and we have communications from reps where we might say, hey, 5 people from your company have are on trial right now, and they're reading this content. Do you want to see it? That's a bit of FOMO, like who else is reading it? Or we might say, we might have an email that goes out that says, the most popular story at your company was this, and we show them the headline. And it's just hard to resist this idea of, a lot of people at my company read this article, and you look at the headline and it's relevant, and then to just sort of pass and not read. So peer pressure and FOMO, but in the best possible way.
Yeah. Joseph, do we have time for one more question, or do we need to close down?
We have time. Go ahead.
Well, what I would like to ask sort of a wrap-up question as we go, which doesn't mean that other folks can't continue to throw in questions on the side, and we'll get to them even after the program's over. But Angela and Dan, if you had to offer one sort of genius or clever, special, maybe unique engagement practice that you have developed over your time at your companies, as a takeaway today, what would that gift to our audience be? Angela, you want to?
Sure. So from our practices, I'm a big believer in the transparent content calendar that we produce. It's a labor of love every year, but it supports our budgetary initiatives. Everything I look at it, it's got to align with our budgetary initiatives. So it allows us to adjust based upon trends, audience engagement. It gives our team members voices and buy-in, which is extremely important. So it supports sales, marketing is involved, product editorial, anything that you can do that's transparent. It also gives everybody a look ahead too. So we transparently share our content calendar so that our sales team knows what's upcoming, so that as they talk to clients, they can kind of fill in, hey, these things are coming, or these offers or these industry events. Let me, get back to you at that point in time with A, B, and C. So for me, that's a big one. Transparency with what we're promoting, talking about on content.
Okay. And the slides of that is attached to this program, so you'll be able to go back and look at it, anyone in the audience who wants to delve into it for that recommendation from Angela. So Dan, your recommendation, favorite engagement practice?
So I'll keep this short. I know we're just about out of time. I would say my biggest tip is to invest in your content. Invest in editorial, invest in your content producers. Produce great content that people feel like they must have. If you do that, you put it in front of the right people, everything else will fall in place. I mean, you'll do a lot of work, but it'll work. You'll get there. It'll fall in place. Invest in your content producers.
Well, you're speaking to a former journalist on this end of the microphone anyway, Dan. So I love that answer. Thank you very much. And with that, I would, Joseph, I think we're it's a take. Let's
fantastic. Yeah, I'd like to thank John and Angela and Dan for today's program. And if you have any further questions, email me, joseph@renewed.net, and I could give you, if you want to become a premium member of Renewed, or if you want to come to the summit in June, any questions from the Renewed part of that aspect, just contact me, and I'd love to reach out. Please sign up for the next sales leadership. It's called the Sales Team Structure and Compensation. That is on January 24th. That is the third part of this 3-part series. That is featuring Stephanie, which we're very looking forward to. She's on this call right now. So sign up now and look for the recording. And we look forward to seeing you on the 24th. So this
And
concludes
Sharon
today.
Fernando, along with Stephanie Williford, Sharon Fernando will be
Sharon Fernando, yeah.
So
Thank
a
you.
good lineup. Thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to hearing more from you in 2024. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone.